Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Raul Falla.
And Raul Falla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Good evening everyone and welcome live to Apex Racing TV for round 4 of the ARL Mazda Cup here at the iconic home of the British F1 Silverstone. The end of the Second World War has left Britain with no major racetrack but plenty of airfields. On the 2nd of October 1948, the Royal Automotive Club hosted the first Grand Prix at Silverstone, a former RAF place. An estimated 100,000 people flocked to see Luigi Versi beat 20 others in his Maserati, marked with bales, ropes and canvas barriers. Since then, the layout and facilities have advanced somewhat to one of the world's most premier racing venues with iconic corners such as Copse, Maggots and Beckett's and the long straights of Wellington and Hanger. It always promotes great racing and tonight I'm sure will be no exception. For tonight's race we return back to the hour-long format with only 50% max fuel, making a pit stop necessary during this race. With long straights, a wide track, this round should promote great racing with plenty of passing opportunities. I am Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary booth with Adam Hatfield, and in production we've got the wonderful Samuli Kubo. So welcome Adam. Round 4, Silverstone, should be a good one.
Hey Andy, thanks for having me back. And Samuli join us in the box. Yeah, it's back to the original first format that we had in round 1. So endurance format, 1 hour long race with pit stops. And this time we should see a different strategy coming into play. Last time we were obviously at the Nordschleife. You can only really pit on lap 3 or 4 there. Tonight there's a lot more to play with. So there's a chance to really see some strategy in this season as we get to round 4 now.
definitely. This is the first time in the ARL Mazdas that we have visited Silverstone. Always been one of them no-go tracks due to the fact that we used to run just 3 15-minute sessions, but with this hour-long sessions, it's promoted us to be able to use some of the bigger tracks on iRacing. So it's a really good track, this. A really good combination, I feel, with these cars as well. You know, the slipstream's going to be good, the track's nice and wide, the car's really small. Should be some really good overtaking moves, and should promote really good racing around here. You know, with the slipstream being so strong, it'd be hard for the first place guy to try and get out front, and as long as you don't have a spin or go off the track, I'm pretty sure that that will be the result down the rest of the field. But as we can see, we got a good splattering of cars here tonight, considering it is Valentine's night, so good for the guys to obviously see their priorities are in order here, and obviously round 4 the Mazdas has taken priority. So thank you for joining us, guys. I really appreciate that. Wouldn't be very much fun with no cars on the track without them.
No, but still, we've got 27 drivers joining us tonight. I see we've only got 5 pros at the front, though, on the readout. Ferrari, obviously, as usual, leading the way. And he's got his title rival, as ever, Pagnan, only 400ths behind him, and Musumeci currently occupying the 3rd position spot as we're working our way through 25 minutes of qualifying. Just a handful of minutes left to run, and then we'll have our grid for tonight's race.
Yeah, it should be. And before we go that, let's have a quick rundown, and I'll give it to you, Adam, of the current championship standings so far.
Yeah, okay, as we see them up on screen now, there's Roberto Ferrari, as I just mentioned, leading the championship, 417 points. His nearest rival, Marcel Pagnan, only 7 points behind on 410. Then we've got Martina Musumeci and Prince Pato occupying 3rd, 4th and 5th places for the pro category. Dan Skinner, our home nation British driver, in 6th place there on 306. Paul Hayden in 7th from Ivan Pinocchio, and Rafael Draskaz leading out the pro standings. Next up, coloured green, it's the Pro-Ams, currently led by Zerdzicki for Hyperion Motorsport, 313 points, being challenged closely by Matteo Barlogio, the Furious Racing team. Behind them, we've got Ayus Humantis, currently 4th in qualifying tonight, so he's clearly looking for another excellent result. In 4th, Christian Nalepa on 258 from Rafael Lesny. Alan McCain, Bartolomej Kedzia in 7th from Nels de Kuiper, Ronald Moons and Thor Tullo. Those are your Pro-Am drivers. One last category to go. The white marked Am drivers, currently being led by Jens Goosens on 251, ahead of Austin Knight 243, just 8 points separating those 2 title rivals. Russ Fowler in 3rd from Damien McMullen. Ian May currently occupies 5th in the point standings. Yves Fredericks in 6th on 204. Iman Serrano, Jay Walsh, Paul Cliss and Tom Bingham round out your 10 Am drivers. I think one of the features there, all 3 categories have a very close battle at the head of the standings.
Yeah, they certainly do, and obviously during this season each of the drivers get 2 drop rounds. The drop rounds haven't been applied yet, and some of the drivers join the session after the first round, so obviously the scores are probably not relating really to where they are, so we'll try and get it so the drop round are applied at the end of this race, so we can see a true reflection of the standings so far in round 5. But we've got the lights tonight of an hour long around Silverstone, and at the moment Musumeci has jumped to the pole position over his teammate Ferrari in 2nd, Pagnan in 3rd. Principato's managed to find a little bit of speed, jumped up there into 4th, and then we've got a whole load of Pro-Ams, Germantas, Ziki, Napella, Bartologio, and then we got the first of the amateurs, Maxine, the new guy to the championship at the moment, so a big welcome to Nathan Maxine there in 9th place. So a great start for him, leading at the amateurs with Tom Bingham just closely behind him in P10. Obviously, you mentioned about the pros there at the top. We do have a couple of pro drivers that are starting from the pits tonight. So we've got Ivan Pinocchio and Paul Hayden, so expect them to try and make the way through the field early on in the session to try and maximise and get up to the front half of the field to join the rest of their pro drivers. But Dan Skinner at the moment in P12 struggling a little bit, not massive off the pace. I mean, you can see how closely the times are there. I mean, considering it's a 2-minute 24-25 lap, to be within a second within the top 12, that's quite good going from the guys out on track at the moment.
Yeah, well, there's some lap times in there that I can pick out immediately. Zedziki, Nalepa and Barlogio separated by, what is that, less than 200ths, only lapping in the 2:25 flat. And then right behind them you've got our new driver Maximum and Bingham, both set identical times of a 2:25.124. So the mid-pack from sort of 5th place down to 12th, you might even include Goosens in there, 13th, only 4/10ths separating them. So on a track that's going to be as draft heavy as this, I don't see those guys getting separated at all tonight.
No, definitely, which will make for a really entertaining race. And you wouldn't expect Mazdas really to be going around Silverstone, but we've been entertained before with these cars going around tracks that you wouldn't normally see them going around, due exactly to that effect, the slipstream effect within these cars. I was speaking to one of my mates who's actually driving in this Tom Bingham, and he was saying, you know, the tyres take at least 2 laps to get warmed up around this place, real slippy on the first couple of laps. So obviously the drivers just need to be really aware of that and just temper their speed on the first couple of laps to ensure they don't lose that slipstream, because if you get out that slipstream, I think it's going to be a long hard day for the drivers if they do lose it. But I'm sure the battle at the front will be frenetic and entertaining, with a lot of passes trying to happen. And I think this track really just promotes that as well, you know, being extremely wide at certain parts of the track, which you could have 2, 3, 4 wide going into corners.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to see some side-by-side action tonight. 3, 4 wide, definitely 3 as a minimum. These cars are friendly like that. You can put them side by side without worrying too much about doing a little bit of door banging.
Yeah, 100%. So that's qualifying over now. We'll just wait for the grid to start mounting up, and we'll take you through. But before that, just take you through one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. Improve your on-track performance with 50+ data packs, road and oval racing setups, track guides, data analysis software and one-to-one coaching. Head over to virtualracingschool.com to see what more they can offer for you. So yeah, it's getting all excited now. The car's just about to start gridding up for this session. Obviously, have we got any drivers still out on track? I wouldn't imagine so. It seems to be ticking over a little bit of the time. But yeah, we'll just wait for the drivers to start gridding up. And what are you looking forward to tonight then, Adam?
Well, we've got the standard battle at the front, haven't we? Pagnan versus Ferrari. Mr. Mecci and Prince Part are going to be in there as well. I think the mid-pack is going to be where we want to watch tonight, though. Those guys aren't going to get separated at any point. Lots of long trains and hard battling. Be interesting to see how easy they take it on these opening laps. It's an hour-long race. You're not going to win it in the first corner. You're not going to win it in the first couple of laps. So let's see if they're sensible enough to see themselves through these opening laps.
Well, I mean, you can certainly lose it on the first couple of laps in this, and you know what is going to be really interesting is that first lap, the first corner going through Abbey, down through Farm, and into the tight turn infield of Village, the loop, and coming out onto Aintree. I mean, they are quite technical corners, and certainly when you've got 20+ Mazda cars going around the track, it's going to make it all the more entertaining. Maybe more for our viewers than maybe some of the drivers when they're going 2 or 3 wide coming down into the Village, but it's certainly going to be an interesting first lap, and hopefully all the drivers can do, as we're watching Pagnan there just going super slow, just enjoying the scenery, I think, just before the start of the race. So you can see him just there in the background coming down, so hopefully he'll come into the pits this lap to get this race underway. Like we said, only 50% fuel these drivers have. in this race, so it makes a pit stop mandatory really for them, and something that's not really done in the Mazda Cups is seeing a lot of pit stops, so the drivers really enjoying that, and that's where the battle could be won and lost as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting pit lane here as well. Obviously, we cut out those last couple of corners, club, sort of shortcut it into the box. And then there's also the idea that obviously the Mazdas are not the fastest cars in a straight line, so pitting might not cost them as much as at other tracks in other vehicles. So certainly when the front runners come into the pits, if they lose not too much time, they might end up back in a battle, sort of in around the top 20. So they've got to be thinking about where they're going to come out and who are they going to come out around, and can those drivers benefit them tonight?
So there we go, Pagnan managing to get in the pits, and we can take you through the grid. So I'll leave it over to you, Adam.
Thank you very much. Musumeci takes pole with a 2:24.3, snatches it away from Marcel Pagnan by only 0.06 of a second. Roberto Ferrari closes in on the second row in third place. Roberto ahead of Orazio Principato in fourth. Arias Humanis, our first Pro-Am driver, claims fifth place, just 0.6 off the front there from Nathan Maximin, our new driver for tonight, representing the AMs. And number 24, Jakub Zazerski in seventh place, heads Christian Nalepa on the fourth row from Matteo Bellogio. These guys just separated by less than a tenth. You can see there, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all tightly packed together. Tom Bingham qualifies 10th. Oh, and we've just skipped ahead. I didn't quite catch who came 11th, 12th there.
Kedzia was in 11th.
13th. Oh, thank you very much, Samuli. Kedzia qualifies 11th ahead of Dan Skinner in 12th. Jens Goossens 13th from Rafael Lesney. Ian May in 15th and Russ Fowler 16th. On row 9, we've got Damien McMullen and Simone Sereno. Alan McCain in 19th. Niels de Kuipers 20th. And then drivers who haven't set a lap time: Ivan Pinocchio, Paul Hayden, Ronald Moons, Paul Glist, Yves Fredericks, Jay Walsh and Austin Knight, rounding out your 27-car grid.
Yes, I do know Austin Knight is not racing tonight, unfortunately. Had a late-minute cancellation, so he will not be taking the grid tonight, which might put pay to his amateur championships at the moment. Currently was sat there in second place, but big shout out to all our viewers as well, looking at us live on YouTube. You know, got any questions or whatever, or any shout outs, just leave it in the chat and we'll try to give your shout out live on during this race, as well as if you like the broadcast, give us that thumbs up and click the subscribe. We have many series here on Apex as the red lights come on, and we are underway for 60 minutes around Silverstone track. Musumeci gets in a good start there. Pagnan behind him in second place, just tucking in behind. All keeping it nice and clean. Ferrari there, just having a little bit of a look with Germantas, but Germantas losing out there slightly and fighting out with Maximin as they come down to the village for the first time. Just see the car 24 there, just going up on the inside now. Nathan Maximin, the top AM driver at the moment, mixing it very much with the pros. So obviously a new driver to this series. Fourth place at the moment, but pretty much the rest of the field just nicely getting through. Tom Bingham there losing out 3 places off the grid, going down to 13th. Principato losing 2 places, coming down to 6th, but Nathan Maximin at the moment getting up 2 places into 4th as we come down into Brooklands and Luffield for the first time in this race.
Yeah, Maximin not shy, is he? From 6th on the grid, straight into 4th, willing to put the moves on these experienced guys. Clearly thinks a podium's on for him tonight, which would be a sensational first result. Is the front 3 familiar Italians leading the way from Musumeci, Pagnan and Ferrari. All kept their positions at the front there. Meanwhile, battling in the background, we're watching Russ Fowler. Oh, he sticks his nose in. Sorry, that's McMullen sticking the nose in on Fowler. McMullen. Oh, as someone gets all loosey-goosey in front of them. McMullen not quite carrying the speed out of Cops there, unfortunately. He's going to have to slot back in behind Fowler. These guys battling over 16th place.
As we go through Mags and Beckett's, the iconic corners around Silverstone, going through to Chapel, and then down the long hanger straight towards the end and completion of their first lap. So we see a nice long train of cars there from leading out. Pagnan has managed to get up into first place, overtaking Musumeci. Ferrari's there third, but it's getting heavily challenged by the AM driver Maximin there in third place, just managing to get the move done side by side as they come down here into Vale, into the last couple of corners. Ferrari will have the inside, so should get that position back, but he does. But certainly Maximin is at the moment showing the pace that he does have in that car, and being an AM driver, he might find himself being slotted up into the Pro-Ams if he carries on this, because he is severely mixing it up there with Ferrari, who is last season's champion. Literally ran away with the season last year, but it's good to see that this season, having his home way as he normally does, and certainly with Pagnan out in front, does have a real challenger to his title, so it should be an entertaining 9 rounds left of this championship to go. But certainly Maximin at the moment is leading out from the AMs. Germantis there in 5th place, leading out the Pro-Ams at the moment. Like you said, he needs to have a decent result here. Didn't have the best of results in Okayama, which put him down the championship slightly, but where he's currently placed at the moment, he will be scoring a decent amount of points over his rivals.
See Barlogia now on the outside of Nalepa. Track's going to go the other way now though. Nalepa going to be left hung out to dry, and Skinner's probably going to stick his nose in as well if he can get there. Not quite. Nalepa's actually got a good run. He switches to the inside. He's got the overlap to take it over the old start and finish straight. Probably going to claim this as we go into the old turn 1 here. Almost flat out in these Mazdas.
Oh, I thought we were going to go 2 by 2 right there.
Yeah, just a little bit of trading paint.
Certainly don't want to be going too wide into Copse Corner. You know, you can get that outside line. But luckily there is quite a lot of runoff coming into Copse, but you don't want to hang yourself out to dry on the outside of Copse, because as you can see, there's a big long train now of these Mazdas just lining up behind Christian Napella there in 8th place, so just waiting to capitalise on any slight mistake that any one of these drivers, a miss gear, braking too early, certainly will hinder you in these Mazdas. Got to keep the power on as much as you can and keep the speed up as we watch. Oh, bit of a rear vim Sasaki there.
Say that's a bit too much power. I was just about to say that it's a front 7 getting away, but that little bit of contact has immediately held up Prince Pato and Zerdzicki, and Nalepa's back onto the back of them now.
Yeah,
a little bit of a breakaway 7 there just for a moment.
Yeah, lucky not too much damage caused there by either car, but obviously you can see the power of that slipstream coming into the hang of the angle straight into Stowe, literally getting right up onto the back of Prince Pato, and not realising how quickly that car was probably going, and just give him a slight little tap in the back just to tell him that he was there. But certainly now, 2 laps into this race, on starting lap 3, the tyres will be nice and warm on. This is where we're going to start seeing the moves coming down into certain corners. As we watch Dan Skinner there, the currently 10th place pro driver, with a lot of pro-am drivers in front of him, but and 1 amateur driver, which is unusual to see. Pretty much rest of the field spread out. The rest of the amateur drivers, Goossens there in 12th place, our current AM leader, with Bingham just behind him in 13th. May 14th at the moment, so there's your top 4 in the AMs. In the pro-ams, we've got Germantis, Zerdzicki in 2nd, Napella in 3rd, and Bartologio in 9th place at the moment on there. And as we see the pros, we've got Pagnan leading the race at the moment. Musumeci only 0.2 of a second behind him. Roberto Ferrari 0.3 of a second. So the top 3 pros all under half a second of each other. So everything to pay for. And like you said, Adam, is the midfield is getting heavily congested with a mixture of pros and pro-ams and amateurs.
Yeah, I was just going to check in on our pro drivers coming from the back of the pack. Pinocchio already up to 20th, fighting his way through past Fredericks. McCain's next on his hit list, and Paul Hayden, who I think must have started from the pit lanes, did he? Because he's a good 10 seconds off the back of anyone at the moment, driving around on his own, unfortunately.
What happened there must have had an incident because obviously Pinocchio started in the pits and is well in the mix at the moment with a lot of amateurs and pro-ams around him, so it must have been a slight issue for Paul Hayden there. And if by magic, let's have a look to see what happened. So just coming out, that's the start finish. Oh, that's a big hit with Jay Walsh there coming over the start finish. So that's what happened to Paul Hayden. See that left wing mirror of Hayden and the left one of Jay Walsh and the right one of Paul Hayden there pretty much hanging off. So that's why we're currently seeing Jay Walsh and Paul Hayden at the back of the field. So yeah, not a good start there for Paul Hayden, starting from the pits and having an issue with Jay Walsh.
Yeah, that was just a bizarre one. Jay suddenly going very slowly on the exit. It's not somewhere that you'd pick up a slowdown penalty, I don't think, unless you really ran it out wide onto the off-track of club. Oh, meanwhile, we've got 3 wide here, back in the pack. That's Russ Fowler with McMullen on the back of them. They all sort it out as we head through Village.
That was a very tight bit of racing. Somebody had to yield there, trying to go 3 wide coming down into the loop. Is it really not advisable? We see Damien McMullen now right on the back of Russ Fowler. Is he going to make a move here coming down Wellington Straight? Does move to the inside, gets the move done really nicely over Russ Fowler there, and Russ trying to fight back, but Damien Mullen is going to have that inside line. But Russ is going on the outside, trying to get that overshot speed, but Damien shutting the door on him. So the winner out of that battle at the moment is Damien, who manages to pick up that P16 place. But you can see on screen, you know, the cars just everywhere on track. There's no definitive lines in these cars either. You know, they're pretty much just cutting the lines as they want to, getting into some sort of formation for the longer sweeping corners. But certainly is, and you can sort of see on the track map in the top right, we getting a little bit of a gap between 14th and 15th, and then there's a battle there, and then down to 21st. Another little battle, so 3 little pocket battles, but the main part of the fields from 1st all the way to 14th are currently just going down, hanging straight for the 4th time on this race. Yeah, lots of battles at the moment ensuing, only 9 minutes into this hour-long race, and be interesting to see the pit stop strategies when they start to come into play.
Yeah, I was going to mention these guys seem to be battling very hard, and it's detached them from the rest of the drivers out here tonight. Oh, where's McMullen? McMullen all the way round. Oh, just about saves it. He's on the grass though now on the inside. Just over-rotated there through Stowe. And he's lost the pack now as we watch Pinocchio as he continues to climb around the outside of the chicane and into club. And he's got Clist joining him, making the way through. Sorry, that's not Clist, is it? That's McCain.
McCain in the coupe, yeah. So let's go around the first corner and start their 5th lap. Pinocchio making good ground at the moment. Obviously did start from the pit lane up to 17th place at the moment, but it's going to be a long, hard day of racing for Pinocchio. Oh, as we see, I think that was the coupe just behind him. No, McCain just spinning it. Going in a little bit too hot into Village and spinning the car around, and very easily to do in these Mazdas, so got to be on the ball as we see here, looking back from Alan's car as he comes into the corner. Let's see what happens. To get a little nudge. Yeah, it looks like he got a little bit of a helping hand around that corner there and spun out there, but not good for Alan there to lose the place, but hopefully he can get tucked up and get right onto the back of the slipstream chain in front of him. Got a little bit of a gap over to Serrano in front of him, but should be well within that slipstream gap. That these cars are really good on the slipstream, and they could be at least 1 to 1.5 seconds behind and still pick up some slipstream.
Yeah, that was very heavy-handed from Niels de Kuiper there, unfortunately. Spinning McCain round. McCain now got plenty of work to do. Climbing back up from 24th as we rejoin the leaders again. We've got a front, 6, 7, 8 cars. I think in reality the first 12 cars are still all within tow, so not getting separated. Maybe a little bit strung out at the back of the shot there. But at the front, we've definitely got a first 6 cars that are absolutely nose to tail. Pagnan, Musumeci and Ferrari leading the way for the pros. The ever impressive Maxin holding on in 4th from Yamantis. And Zerdzicki and Barlojo and Principato all there. Whoa!
Whoa!
Contact!
Oh no, and that's
Yamantis gets
Jamantis.
fired.
That is terrible news for Jamantis, having a really good race up there in 5th place. That might be Zerdzicki behind him. That gave him that slight little tap coming down the end of Vale into the tight left-hander corners before you come on to club. And we'll have a look at a replay here and see if it was. So we'll look at Zerdzicki just behind him in the Hyperon sport car there, right behind Jamantis. Jamantis pulls to the inside to look at a passing move over Maximum, and then he just basically comes right across him to Zerdzicki and hits the back of him. That was a really aggressive move there to come right on the other side of the track. So unfortunately, Area Jamantis there back down to 13th at the moment, and probably be sieving in that Mazda car, being having a really good start to the race in 5th place, and unfortunately getting taken out there.
Yeah, Yamantis was sort of showing his nose to Maxim, wasn't he, there? And then decided against it, tried to pull back in, and it completely wrong-footed Zerdzicki, who managed to both hit him and then almost caught Maxim on the apex as well. So really missed his braking point, unless the sudden dive to the left reduced his braking capabilities. But yeah, overshot that, spun Yamantis out. Yamantis now back in 13th. I imagine he'll be watching Pinocchio close up on him in the next few laps, and then maybe those two can work together to crack the top 10 later in the race.
As we were looking there at James Goosens, our 2nd place and driver on the back of Kedza in 10th place, just all over the back of him. Tom Bingham just slightly off the back of Goosens, as we saw there, but we're currently watching Ivan Pinocchio making his steady progress up from the pit lane start. He's currently up into P15. Just has Lesney just slightly in front of him, so he will certainly be Pinocchio's next target out on track. So doing a great job at the moment. I mean, his last lap was a 2:25.3, and pretty much Lesney's was a 2:26.3. So at the moment, Pinocchio about a second faster per lap than Raphael Lesney is on track. So should soon catch him, but certainly looking here now with Ross Fowler going up onto the inside of Ian May to try and take that 16th place. Looks like he's got it done. Great passing move. Ian May looking but for the cutback on the inside, doesn't quite get it done. Lost a lot of speed there, but great passing move for Ross Fowler as they come down into Vale. Oh, a big hit in front. Who was that? That was Pinocchio getting it slightly wrong. Did he get a tap in the back, or did he just go far too deep into that corner? I didn't quite catch that.
He was battling with Lesney, wasn't he? Let's see how it happened. It looks like it's going to be on his own, you know.
Did he overbrake himself? It looks like he might have. Yeah, went really deep. That was a great move, though, because he could have easily taken out Raphael there, deciding to go out on track and save it. Obviously going in far too hot into that corner, and he's got to do it all again. So now he's got to pass De Cupra there for P17, coming up in front. And making hard work of trying to pass these amateurs and pro-am drivers at the moment is our other Italian driver, Ivan Pinocchio, but seems to be able to get it done. Just needs to cut out the slight little mistakes, and I'm pretty sure that he will be a bit of a gap. You know, he's 21 seconds behind the leader. To try and get into the top 10, he's going to have to get a wriggle on and try and get up there, but at the moment he's certainly fighting it out here with De Cupra in 18th place, managing to get the move done, and is now up to 17th. Got about 4 seconds to Ian May and Fowler in front of him, so a little bit of clean track in front of him to try and get some extra speed, but currently on board with McMullen just behind Pinocchio, and having a big fight there with Neos De Cupra coming down the start-finish line. De Cupra just looking on the inside of turn 1, thinking better of it, and just having that one line really going through that first corner to maximise the speed. But Neos De Cupra looks a bit racy here tonight, looking all over the back of Damien McMullen car there in P18.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I imagine Lesney will be adoring Pinocchio now for his evasive manoeuvre. Pinocchio might get another Valentine's card in the post for managing not to have a a mother and father of an accident, really. He was so late on the brakes, missed it by so far. But yeah, excellent work not to collect Lesney, who continues to fight with Mantis in 13th and 14th. Pinocchio lost about 4 or 5 seconds in that manoeuvre as we watch him round Stowe. McMullen trying to chase after him, both of them leaving De Kuipers, number 1, 3, 4 there. As we come to the end of lap 8 now, leaders well on their way. Up ahead.
You can sort of see the interval timers there. I mean, all the way down to 8th, really close to the leader. Skinner just slightly off 4/10 off the back of Napella, just every now and then ducking under that 1 second to the leader. So Skinner trying his best to keep on the coattails of the Napella in 8th. And then there's a little bit of a gap between 9th and 10th with Goosens 2.8 seconds, about 1.8 seconds off Skinner in 9th place, and was fighting extremely hard with Kedza there in 11th place. And then we've got Tom Bingham, and then there's a bit of a gap to Germantus there in 13th, who's got Lesney just behind him and Fowler with May, and then obviously Pinocchio currently 3 seconds off the back. But currently on board with our 6th place driver, Principato there, the pro driver, just looking at the back end of the Ziki car there in 5th, and just 1 in front of him is our top amateur driver at the moment, new to the series tonight, Nathan Maxine up there in 4th place, are doing an absolute sterling job. Obviously people have tracks that they really enjoy and really get on with them, and sometimes really outperform where they currently stand in maybe their iRacing capability. So, you know, this may be one of Nathan's big tracks tonight here, but it's certainly mixing up, and as we can see from on board with him, we've got the 3 Italians in front of him fighting out. You've got Pagnan, Musumeci in 2nd place, and the championship leader at the moment, Ferrari, there in 3rd place, doing what he normally does and just basically just letting the front 2 fight it out, and then just ready there like a praying mantis just to pick up any sort of mistake that the front 2 have. So just biding his time at the moment, and maybe even using a little bit of fuel saving tactics behind these 2 up in front to try and get that extra lap on this car going in. So that's something that we haven't really talked about as well, Adam. It is the fact that, you know, slipstreaming this car and trying to fuel save to go that extra lap might be advantageous in this race.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as we were on board with Nathan. Any driver who can sit back in the pack and just feather the throttle at the end of the straights is obviously going to be making those incremental savings. They'll all add up. We're 9 laps into the race now. Another 18 or so to go, I imagine, as we come to 20 minutes on the clock. Yeah, and every time they go round, just a little bit of savings, it'll add up to time is saved in the pit lane when these guys all funnel in, which I wonder if any of them are thinking about it now. 20 minutes into the race, you might think if you're being held up in any way, it might be time to come in. Most of these guys probably not being held up, most of them obviously benefiting from the slipstream. So when one breaks, I imagine they'll all break together.
Yeah, big long train, isn't it? You know, you imagine being on the motorway and being joined at the hip. That's what these cars are at the moment, just a big long train of cars. And like you say, when the first car breaks, it's just a rippling effect down the field. But these certainly 9 drivers are managing to pull slightly ahead. But it seems like there's a good battle for P10 at the moment between Gutzens, Kedza and Bingham, who's managed to join the fight at the moment. So these 3 cars having a really good battle out on track for P10. Obviously a little bit of gap between 9th and 10th at the moment. You can see the gap on the screen just pulling away. So Willa lost the slipstream with Goosen, so coming under heavy pressure from Kedza, and obviously Bingham, who was slightly off this battle, but with these 2 battling out quite hard, has managed to jump that gap and has now come on to join the fight. So these 3 cars are certainly going to be going tooth and nail. Certainly down the hangers straight, you know, it'll be hard for Goosens to try and keep that Mazda out in front. Just needs to get a really good exit out of this Maggots Beckett's and then coming down into Chapel to try and get a little bit of a gap over Kedza there in 11th place to minimise the effect of the slipstream. So we watch them as they come down the hanger straight. Tom just getting off the back slightly, but will be within that slipstream there of Goosens and Kedza there. But Tom pulling out and trying to go down the inside into zone, makes an excellent move there. Just caught Kedza napping there for P12, managing to get the move done, but Kedza coming back now on the inside, coming down into the last part down Vale, but tucking in nicely behind Tom. So a great move there, a great opportunist move. You know, that's one of the things when you are following a group that's fighting quite hard. It takes that corner really hard. You need to watch them curves on the inside coming out of club, certainly. But that's something you've got to watch for. If you're in a hot battle, is that car in third place, and if you're battling hard, get off line slightly to make that optimistic pass. You know, you can do what happened Tom did there and just snipe an extra position. So great bit of awareness driving there from Tom Bingham up to 11th place, and now he's chasing his rival of Goosens there in 10th place.
Yeah, behind this three. Oh, loose. Goosens, Lucy Goosens. He gets it all sideways as we came out of the loop there. It's going to cost him to Tom Bingham, I think. Bingham with the momentum to slide up the inside. I was going to mention behind these three, we've got Yamantis closing in, looking to recover. He's the only driver out of the top 9 who isn't still in there after his contact on the run into the chicane a couple of laps ago. As Tom Bingham now claims the lead of these three. Meanwhile, I was just looking through all the lap times, fastest lap times. Well, it's hard to pick out actually, because almost everyone in the front 8 pack have done something like a 2:24.9. Interestingly, Dan Skinner with the joint fastest lap, 2:24.93. So he's fast enough to catch those front 8. Unfortunately, he's just maybe not quite consistent enough. He's now 3 seconds off the back of Nalepa.
Yeah, great move there from Goosens coming out. Cops managing to get the overspeed on Tom coming through there, got a slower line and picked his pocket, did Goosens, and managed to get out in front for Maggots and Beckett. So Tom's got it all to do again, but watch out for Kedza behind. If Tom tries to make a move like Kedza did the lap before, he can actually slip up onto the inside of Stowe, as we watch here. Tom coming, pulling out, trying out the slipstream, trying to get up on the inside here. Goosens managing to get it done into Stowe. Going to have that inside line, so Goosens going to have to as we watch all the front runners at the moment coming into the pit. So we've got Pagnan, Musumeci, Ferrari, Maximin, Bartologio, but Principato, did he actually pit, or was that?
No, Principato, Zidzik and Leper have all gone by.
Oh,
so 3 of them have stood out.
We've got all the top drivers at the moment that were currently in the top 5 all going into the pits, taking their pit stop. I mean, that's 25 minutes. They might have to pit again, looking at it. As we see some of the drivers taking tyres there, which is very unusual. Maybe just a brand new set of left-hand tyres, feeling a little bit warm, but no. As we watch Bartologio there taking a full set of tyres. Ferrari looked like he just took a left set and managing to get out in the front of these guys at the moment. So interesting tactics, and I wasn't expecting them to change tyres in this race.
Oh, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's certainly something we didn't see at the first round at the Nordschleife. Ferrari, meanwhile, has come out well ahead of the rest of them. He's with Moons and McCain, drivers who obviously haven't pitted yet. But Ferrari with a good second or two's gap to the next car out of the pits, which is Pagnan. So I don't know if Ferrari was the only one taking 2 tyres, or if he's doing it on fuel there, but he's pulled a gap. Pagnan in turn has pulled a gap on the rest of them. Maximin is actually the next one out of the pits. So of the guys that have pitted, Maximin in 3rd. But they've all been strung out, so that idea of following one another into the pits and keeping the slipstream, keeping the battle going, has clearly fallen to the wayside now.
Certainly did, and as you saw there, the headlights come on the Mazda. This race started at 5 p.m. UK time, so I was wondering if we'd start towards the back end of this race, start seeing it getting dark here at Silverstone. Already getting dark as we're watching Jens Goosen and Tom Bingham having a real good ding-dong, and like you said, Jamantis has managed to join the fray. He's actually got past Kedza, and is currently up behind Bingham and Goosen, so they need to watch out for the Pro-Am driver there behind them in there. But we watched Tom Bingham just move out again alongside Jens Goossens getting it done. So these two just trading places lap after lap, and it seems that Tom has the winnings as we watch Germantis trying to follow Tom through into Stowe, coming side by side with Jens Goossens, but Jens will have that inside line for the vital corner, just managing to get across, and he goes into the pits here. Jens Goossens with Keza are into the pits, so that will leave Germantis and Bingham out in 5th and 6th at the moment within this race. So as long as Bingham and Germantis can work together, maybe they can get ahead of these two guys when they come out for their pits. But Jens Goossens there, our current second place driver in this race, comes into the pits.
I was making funny noises there because Kedzia was really late on the brakes. I thought he was going to pile Goossens into the wall for a second there as they braked for the turn into the pit lane. I'm surprised actually that Germantis didn't come in. I was about to predict that having caught those three guys and benefited from the slipstream, he might think battling was not a good idea and have dived into the pits, but the other two in that group did it for him. I think we've also had from the lead group Principato coming in out of the pits, and he's lost even more time to the front three. He's come out behind Pagnan and Maxim certainly.
Yeah, certainly the top driver at the moment of our pit stoppers is Roberto Ferrari. Great pit stop as we saw there. Didn't take all 4 tyres, just took 2 left-hand tyres and kept the right hands on. So obviously saved a lot of time and has made up, as you can see there, just in the background of these 4, Pagnan, just a couple of seconds off at the moment over Roberto Ferrari. But I think Pagnan did take some tyres, all tyres, so maybe have that little bit of edge and a little bit of speed over Ferrari coming to the latter part of the race, but I'm sure we'll find out. But currently has to navigate his way around McCain and Moons in front of him before he can get onto the back of Ferrari.
Yeah, he'll be hoping for a seamless pass through these two guys so he doesn't lose too much time. Clearly able to hold the line better than McCain there as we went through Cops. Unfortunately, he's not going to get a move done before we enter the Maggots-Beckett's complex, so he's just going to have to sit there for a few more corners. I expect he'll get a fantastic run out into the back straight, though, as McCain drifts his way through the middle of the turn there.
Great pictures, seeing how much these cars just slip side as Pagnan there getting right onto the back of McCain, so making easy pickings at the moment, but he just needs to get that overspeed. Maybe should have stayed behind him slightly a little bit longer to go and do, because obviously, as we can see there, McCain just probably taking off the gas a little bit to let Pagnan through, to just follow him through. So there's one place made up from Pagnan, so he's just got Moons in between himself and Ferrari. But a bit of a different strategies here. You know, some of the drivers going really deep into this race, and then we saw the top 5 coming into the pits about a lap ago, 2 laps ago, and they may have to pit again if they've not calculated their fuel correctly. So it's certainly going to be interesting. The top 5 at the moment still have yet to pit for their pit stop.
Yeah, Zicki lost about half a second to Ferrari on that lap though, with a 2:26.6. These guys have all lost about a second and a half from their ultimate pace. Ferrari may even have been held up on that lap a little bit, getting past the 2 back markers that we saw Pagnan battling with. So this next lap might be his first true representation of pace, as Pagnan getting held up as we go through the inner loop section. And now back out onto the main straight, the main back straight even. Gets that move done, and now just has Ferrari in his sights. About 2 seconds gap there. I think that's something that he could certainly catch, and it might be a 2-horse race from here.
Certainly looks like it, and it's the usual 2 suspects at the front of the grid at the moment. After the round, after everyone has pitted, so Ferrari and Pagnan currently the top of the pit stoppers so far. The front 5 are still yet to pit. And are only 13 seconds ahead of Roberto Ferrari is Tom Bingham. So will lose the position as soon as the front guys decide to pit. But they are going extremely deep into this race. So lap 10, the front runners came in, so 3 laps ago. And you still got guys out there who have yet to come in for their first pit stop. Interesting.
I just mentioned we've lost Musumeci, haven't we? Musumeci's dropped out of the battling front pack all the way down in 23rd. maybe
Oh, yeah.
20 seconds off, 30 seconds off the drivers he was battling with.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder what happened there. I wonder if we could get Samuli to trawl back through the replays to see what happened. It looks like he may have got caught up with a rear marker and come in. He had a 1 minute pit stop. Do you know what he did? I reckon he sped in the pit lane, 40-second stop and go penalty. So the dreaded stop and go penalty looks like for Musumeci there, and that has put him well down in this race. And that's the dreaded thing coming into the pit stop. And the problem with these Mazda drivers is they're not used to the pit stops in these cars. And as we see there, one of the front runners certainly getting caught out. But we've got a battle on our hands here with May and Cupra coming through to Maggots, and Beckett's coming down here. Ian managing to get the head. Neil's just right behind him, Ian May. He's had a great round out at Okayama. Seems to be finding his feet a little bit more in these MX-5 cars. So good to see him that he's enjoying his racing at the moment. The Potato Nation team driver there, Ian May, but does have De Cooper right behind him. So will De Cooper make a move up into Stowe, moves to the inside. Just think he's a little bit too far back at the moment, just trying to let Ian know that he is there, and if he gets that opportunity, he will try. I wonder if we see Ian go a little bit defensive here. No, still keeping his line. Just going slightly on the inside to cut off any passing move there from De Cooper in 25th, but certainly having a good battle out on track at the moment as we watch Ronald Moons making a move past McCain to get 8th place. Great passing move there coming into Brooklyn. So these two fight it out on track. Maybe a little bit of a tap there from Alan as they were coming around there in that corner, but these two having a really good battle for 8th place at the moment. But their top 5 still have not pitted.
Yeah, it's an interesting tactic, isn't it? These guys all deciding clearly they want to go long, and maybe if they do also take on tyres, they'll be really hot at the end. As we watch Nalepa in the slipstream behind Zicki. I wonder how much fuel these guys have saved as well, because these guys were obviously deeper in the pack when we had those 8-9 cars in a line, so they might even get away with a shorter pit stop as well.
Definitely, I mean, two teammates working well together. You always see them in qualifying as well if we ever watch them, and certainly in rounds to come. You'll see all 3 of the teammates just following each other around, using the maximum slipstream to help each other out. And that's probably one of the advantages of having a team within this league, is you can really work together to try and bridge any gaps you've got over your competitors. So gives them that slight advantage, certainly in the qualifying, and certainly here at the moment with the 2 teammates just pushing each other along. Napella just staying behind Suzuki, who's currently leading out this race. The 2 teammates from Hyperon Sports.
Yeah, I think I should also mention Pagnan has bridged that gap back to Ferrari. Those 2 are nose to tail once again. So yeah, as we join them there going through turn 1, these 2 back together. They're going to draft off each other to the end, I imagine. Next guy behind them, who has pitted, Principato, back in 10th, who's actually just overtaken Maximum, I believe. Those 2 guys in 10th and 11th, more than 7 or 8 seconds off the back of these front 2 now. So that pit stop phase really benefited Ferrari and Pagnan.
Yeah, it certainly did. I mean, the difference in the pit stop between the 2 out front is 4 seconds, but obviously that has been closed down really quickly by Pagnan, that 4-second advantage that Ferrari had coming out of the pit lane. And maybe the fact that Pagnan probably took them 4 tyres is really helping him at the moment over Ferrari, and who only took 2 left-hand tyres. So maybe feeling a little bit coming around, certainly right-handed corners, that left-handed corners, that them right-hand tyres maybe squealing a little bit more, and that's what's giving Pagnan the extra little bit of space and speed. But Nathan Maximum here, currently the 2nd place in the amateur championship, or sorry, amateur standings tonight. 23 seconds off Bingham at the moment, but Bingham has yet to pit within this race, so should find that Maximum does take back that AM win, or AM first AM position, as we watch Ian May getting it slightly wrong there, and I'll leave this one to you, Anne.
Yep, I think it's a little bit more than slightly. I think we're going to go for a twirl here in at the loop. And yeah, a little bit too boisterous on the throttle. Round he goes, keeps his foot in to keep spinning him round quickly off the grass. Didn't lose him too much. I think that was De Kuipers who slid by. And he remains. Oh, as we've got cars in the pits, Jumantis and Bingham now.
Skinner
2 of our
as well.
front 5.
Skinner's in the pits as well from third place. So you got the 2 Hyperon Motorsport teammates out in front, still yet to pit. So Zicki and Appella, but Skinner, Jumantis and Bingham all coming into the pit. So it'll be interesting to see where they now ferry out on track when they come out on track.
Joined by Moons and McCain as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see the tyre strategies. But here we have Roberto Ferrari with Pagnan glued to his rear bumper, are going to take back 3rd and 4th place at the moment. But bit of a gap there, 27 seconds to Zicki in the front of this race, or to Napella in 2nd place at the moment. So, you know, the front 2 Hyperons Motorsports team are doing an exceptional job of staying out front, but certainly don't believe they've got enough time to maintain that lead when they come into the pit. So they should drop down, but they should come out around about the 5th or 6th battle, will the front 2, when they do decide to finally pit. But that's an exceptionally long lap into this. These guys here, 6 laps before ago. So we're already 6 laps. The front 2 are different than what Ferrari and Pagnan are. So these 2 going exceptionally deep, and I would expect them to be coming into the pits this lap. But we'll certainly see. They can't have saved that much fuel, surely.
No, they're travelling a little bit slowly now as well. Unfortunately, those last 2 lap times, 26.7s, 2-minute 26.7s. They're shipping about a second to a second and a half to Ferrari and Pagnan, and almost a second to Maximin and Principato, who you'd think they'd be battling when they do come out. So they want to get in quick, otherwise those gaps are going to get too big for them to overcome, even if they do have fresher tyres. Let's see now as they come round Stowe. The 16th time, will they dive to the right? Yes, they do. Into the pit now. Check your brake markers. Make sure not to overshoot it and do what Musumeci did. Nice and calm, and onto the pit speed limiter.
Our one and only remaining driver out on track that has not pitted is Simeon Serrano of Furious Racing Junior team, currently in P9, so I'd expect him to be in, and then that will be everybody has been in for their pit lane stop, and we can see where the dice lie at the end of the pit stop. But certainly Ferrari and Pagnan have done an exceptional job. There was an 8-car train at the front of this race before the round of pit stops started to open, and somehow these 2, Roberto Ferrari and Pagnan, have managed to do an absolute vanishing act. And as you can see there, the gap between himself and Principato there in 5th place at the moment is just growing as we look to Zicki and Appella coming out of the pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see where they feed back into the race, as we see them there just coming up the ramp, doing an exceptional job. Looks like they've got 4th and 5th respectively, but you have got the steaming through Maximum, the amateur driver, who will be on nice warm tyres over these drivers as he sort of splits the teammates into their Maximum coming front into the inside section, coming out onto the Wellington straight. So I wonder if he'll be able to get to Zicki coming down there. But great little bit of work there between it. But change for the lead at the front, and Pagnan just getting that slipstream effect down the Wellington straight and managing to go past Ferrari. So Pagnan currently out the front of this race, and Ferrari hot on his tail. Great move there from Pagnan.
Yep, Maximin has also just claimed Zicki there as we join them, so he's leading this little group. These are 4 drivers here that we can see: Maximin, Nalepa, Barlogio and Skinner. No, sorry, Maximin, Zicki, Nalepa and Barlogio. 4 of our original 8 who have still clung together. And Principato is actually, we saw get past Maximin a few laps earlier, and he seems to have disappeared. He's left Maximin sort of in his dust.
Certainly is. I mean, if you look at it, it was obviously Pagnan Ferrari, then you have Principato, Maximum was in 4th, but look at the gap now, considering they were like less than a second ahead of the leader. That round of pit stops has really shaken it up as we watch a battle out with Jacob City and Matteo Bellagio just mixing it up with these drivers there. The 1-2-4 car just on the back with the manga livery, which is what we come to love on these Mazda cars, the liveries that the driver has. But Matteo Bellagio there in 7th place, just putting a lot of pressure over the Hyperon Motorsport team in 5th and 6th, and Mopella and Zicki just need to be aware of Bartologo in 7th place, so right hot on the heels. Doesn't have anybody behind him, so we just constantly look forward to these two drivers. And Zicki going extremely defensive there into the last corner. Will keep the position, but will affect his time to Mopella, his teammate in front, who may even slow up to give Zicki the slipstream to try and keep him ahead. So that's where the team advantage comes into play again.
Interesting to see a couple of the drivers there going over the exit curb at Club. Some of the drivers obviously wheel either side of the curb. It's a big curb, but they've got the clearance that they can run that line. Interesting to see. Some cars you try and do that and you're going to get flicked up into the air. But these guys with the clearance, they can run a slightly wider line over the curb and get the exit onto the finish straight. I think Maximin is just actually leaving these guys a little bit, you know. We mentioned he had warm tyres. He's got about a second's gap. If he keeps going for another lap or two, he might even have broke the slipstream.
Yeah, doing an exceptional job here. Nathan's first outing here in the ARL Mazda Cup, and there's still places available for this league. If you fancied coming to join us, just head over to apexracingleague.com and we could see you out on the grid for the next round. Another 8 rounds to go after this round, a 12-round championship. 3 different formats. We got this one, which is an hour long. We got format B, which is 2 25-minute races, and then format C, the old faithful 3 15-minute sprint races. So a bit of a mix of formats there to suit everybody's palate and taste of what they prefer to race, but it's certainly mixed up this championship. And Maury mentioned it, just over to one of our other sponsors of this, Apex Racing Academy. They got 29 data packs, setups, track guides. It's fully integrated with the VRS system, weekly group coaching sessions, plus many more. Head over to apexracingac.com to see the different packages that they can give to you. But this battle, certainly for 5th place at the moment, is heating up, and Bartologo is really putting a lot of pressure over Zicki in front of him in P6 as we see him coming down the hangers straight, looking onto the inside into Stowe, managing to slightly pull alongside him, so we'll have his back quarter alongside, so Zicki just needs to go a little bit wide, but we'll have that inside line, so we'll probably go ultra defensive into the last couple of corners here. That car 1-2-4 of Bellagio just pressurizing Zicki, and you can see there a gap starting to appear between himself and Mopella in 5th place. It's just growing out as well. Germantis there just cutting right in front of Pinocchio. Pinocchio's had an exceptional, considering he started from the pit lane, to be in the top 10 now. He's done an exceptional drive and certainly has the opportunity to gain even more places with Germantis in front. And we have seen these two battling on previous seasons of the Mazda Cup, so we should be in for a fanatic last 15 minutes between these two drivers, that's for sure. We got Kedza there just hanging on to the coattails of Pinocchio as well, to making it a free car race.
Yeah, we did mention at the start it'd be interesting to see how far Pinocchio could climb. Obviously the hour-long race allows him that time to make positions and move up the grid. He's managed to crack the top 10. If he'd not had that little incident where he just managed to avoid the back of Lesney, you never know, he might have been battling Dan Skinner right about now for 8th place. But no, it's an excellent drive to be in 10th. Battling with Diamantis now over 9th. Kedzia still with them, these three. At the back end of the top 10, behind them, Goosens and Bingham battling away over 12th and 13th. And then our next pro driver, Hayden, another one who started from the back, who we saw having his incident on the opening laps, running into the back of another driver as they cross the start-finish line, and he's not managed to recover that much from there, unfortunately, maybe carrying some damage, of course.
Yeah, but an exceptional run, you know, obviously was hit the back, it was Jay Walsh. He had that incident coming out of club over the start-finish line, literally spinning them 2 around and putting them 10 seconds off the back of the field, and to be able to make that 10 seconds back up and then put yourself into P14, an exceptional drive there from Paul Hayden in there. But one of the big stories of this is Musa Mecci fighting for the race win at the start of this race, looking like he got a pit lane penalty for speeding in the pits. That entry line within this comes really quick. You literally come out of the corner of Stowe and fire down the infield pit lane, and it's a straight line to that line that you've got to be below the speed. And Musa Mecci seemed to have got it wrong. And was obviously stationary for a 40-second stop-go penalty, which really has put pay to his round here tonight. You know, obviously we see him languishing down there in P18, so pretty much his race is done at the moment, and this will probably be one of his drop rounds. But certainly his teammate having different fortune at the moment, currently trying to chase down Pagnan there for the race win. Only 0.8 of a second, so well within the slipstream as we watch him coming down into Wellington Straight.
Yeah, to be honest, 0.8 of a second I think is about the biggest gap we've had in the last 4 or 5 laps. These guys have been absolutely nose to tail. Well, the Ferrari's now experiencing a little bit of tyre drop off. We theorised that he'd only taken 2 tyres to everyone else's 4. It might be that he's just cooking them now as he drops to more than a second behind Pagnan now. He's still got the slipstream obviously to work to his advantage. I'd expect him still to join back up onto the back, but that gap is definitely growing. It's definitely larger than he'd want it to be, with now just 12 minutes left on the clock. Oh, and we've got Lesney pointing the wrong way. Where is that on track?
I think that's the infield, isn't it? Yeah, the infield part coming down onto Wellington Straight there. Again, it's slightly wrong as Raphael Lesney. Easily done on that infield, as we have a quick look of a replay coming around Village there, coming up to the loop, just probably like before a little bit of beans too much, a little bit of mustard. Oh, he just gets his wheel out on the kitty litter, which spins him around, and that's unfortunate for Raphael Lesney, who was fighting out quite well, but down into P20 at the moment. But certainly we're looking at the battle here. De Coupe in 21st, and has got Serrano just behind him in 22nd. Paul Joseph Clist behind him there, the Englishman in 23rd. So these three having their own little battle lower down the grids. But that's the beauty of these MX5 racing, is that wherever you are on track, you'll always find a little battle, even for the lower places. Oh, and Serrano just tipped it down the inside, and De Coupe just gets it slightly tapped coming around turn number 1. That's what we talked about before, and Serrano just waiting for De Coupe to get in front of him and realised that he did actually make the mistake. So nice bit of sportsmanship there from Serrano, just giving the place back to Niels De Coupe, but he did lose a lot of positions with that altercation there, and that's the treacherous thing of going too wide into the first corner.
Fredericks and May both slid past there as those two, well, one of them waited for the other one to sort himself out. De Kuiper getting spun a full 180 degrees. As we go back to this main battle for the race now, these 4 drivers still nose to tail. We've got Maxim leading the way from the Leper, Suzuki and Barlogio. I think this is the biggest battle on track at the moment. 4 guys fighting for the top 4, all Pro-Ams or Am drivers, although as we said at the start, I think Maximum's going to get quickly bumped up a few classes.
Yeah, seems to be doing exceptionally well, but was getting away from these 3 behind him, but has been clawed back now to make it a 4-horse race. You can see there a little bit of a gap between the Pella and Suzuki for 5th and 6th. So you've got the 2 little tiny battles, but obviously they are still well within the slipstream and could easily bridge that gap. But Bartologio there keeping Suzuki in 6th place, very busy at the moment, all over the back of the Mazda driver, the 166 cars, the 124, literally all over the back of him. And wow, I mean, Bartologio must be able to draw the back of that car from memory at the end of this race, the amount how quickly he's been behind him, but can't make that finishing move at the moment to try and make the telling move past here, but we might see a move here. Maximum going really defensive, coming down, hanging straight, going really deep and inside of Stowe, giving Napella the outside line there, so not quite getting done. So a great defensive move for Maximum just to hold on to that 4th place, but certainly we have 9 minutes left of this race, around about 3 or 4 laps left, and it's going to be a hard night's work for Maximum to try and keep that 4th place with the speed of Napella currently in 5th. A little bit of a snaky move there for Maximum, the amateur driver in front, maybe feeling a little bit more of the pressure now with the car behind.
Yeah, we've got 4 laps roughly to go now. These 4 cars have got no one in front that they're looking to catch, no one behind that can catch them. So I think they're going to start battling, working out where they can make the moves, where's off limits, and having their ghost runs before the big event on the last lap. So I imagine these 4 are going to be battling right to the end. Oh, as Nalepa, here we go. He's going to try one here, see how this one works.
Sends it
Maximum just gives him room.
I think Maximum's going to have the position still, but that was clear intent there from Napella, saying if you give me that opportunity or that little gap down the inside, and I think he'll make another move here coming down the Wellington Straight coming into Brooklands, not quite getting the car done and not quite getting out, maybe moved out of the slipstream a little bit too much, but what that is doing is putting Zicki slightly offline and might give Bartologo the opportunity there in P7 to make the passing move that has been eluding him at the moment over Zicki in front of him, but you can sort of see Napella just snaking all over the road, trying to put off Maximum in 4th place, and Bartologo might be the one to capitalise on this if Zicki just gets put out online, as we can see again how close Matteo is behind Zicki there in 6th place. Literally these 4 cars are just jostling for position out on the last, going into the last 7 minutes of this race. So really entertaining last 7 minutes from these 3 drivers, and I wonder if the AM driver at the moment can manage to keep his cool and keep that 4th place.
Yeah, as we look back at Pinocchio now, on the back of Dan Skinner. Has Dan Skinner made an error? He was pretty much on his own until a few laps ago, but he's definitely not on his own anymore. Pinocchio, Yamantis and Kedzia all with him now. This is our 2nd battle group of 4 to the end of the race.
As we see Pinocchio here, obviously started from the pit lane, currently in P8, challenging strongly on the inside here into Stowe, managing to get the move done, and this Jamantis going to try and follow him through. He certainly is, pushing Skinner out to the outside, and there's 3 wide coming down here into Vale, into the second to last corner. Jamantis looking on the inside here of Skinner. Is he going to manage to make the move? No, doesn't quite manage to do. Skinner managing to keep that place, but Pinocchio managing to take that P8 position over Skinner. So Pinocchio driving out of his skin here, considering he started from that pit lane right at the back of the field. Would have been about 5 seconds off the lead, as certainly driven the round of his life at the moment and up to P8. But Skinner's got all sorts of problems at the moment with Jamantis, a Pro-Am driver behind him, right on his tail, just pressurising him to the intent, coming down into Village here. Jamantis still keeping on that inside line, but we've got a challenge here for the lead, and Ferrari managing to take Pagnan again, coming down. It was a carbon copy of the pass before, down the Wellington Straight and going into Brooklands, and Ferrari managing to take the lead in the last 5 minutes of this race. And you see there Pagnan just giving him a little bit of a tap, coming out there, coming down on the old pit straight, and Ferrari managing to get 1st place back. So these 2 are going to be fighting tooth and nail again to the end of the race.
Yep, Ferrari's not going to let Pagnan have it all his own way, clearly. Stamps his authority on this one and claims back the lead. Just going back to Dan Skinner there, I'm just wondering if he might be a little bit light on fuel, you know. The last 3 or 4 laps he's been down in the 227s, and I was wondering why those other 3 had caught him up so quickly. I'm just wondering if it's a little bit of fuel saving that he's had to employ now, and he's going to be drafting to the end. But at the front, these 2 aren't going to be drafting. These 2 are going to be fighting it out for the last 3 laps. All sideways as we dive left, right and left again, back out onto the back straight.
I mean, it's great to see this, you know, at the front of the field. These two drivers, all free wide here. We've got Jamantis in the middle, Kenta on the outside, and Skinner just being put out to try and get past. Oh, and a big hit there from Kenta and Jamantis comes off worse as they come through Maggots and Beckett's. Doesn't seem to lose too much space. Did actually gain from that hit, so might have a slowdown penalty himself, but certainly was a slight hit there from Kedza, but does make up a little bit of ground as we see him slowing down. Yeah, definitely got to slow down for pretty much cutting Maggots and Beckett out there, and just joins on to the back, slowing down, losing a little bit of ground to Kedza, and Skinner there does Jamantis in 11th, but that's a terrible way to go out, isn't it? Coming down, Maggots and Beckett getting a slight hit after these three were fighting it hard and tail, but you know, what they have done is they've let Pinocchio now scoot off into the distance. A bit of a gap between Pinocchio and Ken, 8th and 9th. So Ken's at the moment just defending hard over Skinner in 10th place. And I think you are actually right, because I was looking at the pit stops at the time, and Dan Skinner's pit was a 1:21.97. So Ketzer in front of him was only a 22.57. So very similar pit stop strategies, but it looks like they didn't take tyres. So maybe their tyres are actually starting to go off now. Hence why the other team was, or the other chasing group was able to catch Skinner for that 10th place.
Yeah, the other thing that incident did is it gave Pinocchio a free pass to pull away. He's now kind of out on his own in 8th place. Kedzia 2 seconds off the back of him. Pinocchio gaining all the way from the back up to 8th place, and he looks to be secure in that now. About 6 seconds off the back of Zerdzicki, who has finally been passed by Barlogio. We've been watching him all that time. They're on the pro driver, Paul Hayden.
Terrible.
The driver is spinning the loop. It looks like it.
Yeah, I think it certainly is. That's caught a few drivers out here tonight. Paul Hayden making a good recovery drive from where he started off. So just a big shout out to our last sponsor, SDK Gaming. Add a virtual live hub to iRacing, show timing towers, enhanced relative box, mini maps, fuel calculators, and many more. Stream to Twitch with the most comprehensive overlay on iRacing. Broadcast your leagues and series. SDK Gaming syncs your commentators' teams, cameras, focus drives, and overlay with your broadcaster, and adjust your team strategy on the fly with the most accurate live timing on iRacing. Head over stk-gaming.co.uk. But joining back to the battle here, we're joining back to the battle of the second in the amateurs. Currently, Jens Goosens there in 12th place, Tom Bingham in 13th, followed by Russ Fowler in 14th. So these three having a big battle for the last two podium positions in that amateur championship. But at the moment, Maximum, you know, streaking ahead in the amateur. He's in 4th. Jens Goosens in 12th place, so 8 places between 1st and 2nd as we watch Tom Bingham trying to make a dive down the inside here, coming down hangers straight, should be able to get the move done. And we've seen this time and time again from these two drivers, just jockeying for position as Tom managing to keep the move done and making the move into Stowe. But James Goosens get a really good run off that, getting them side by side, coming down into the Vale, into the last couple of corners. Tom going really defensive, will have that inside line, so should keep that lead. Needs to get a good run out of here, out of Vale, down the start-finish chain, certainly with the two amateur drivers, with James Goosens and Fowler behind him, just tucked up under in the slipstream, so it'll be interesting to see. But as we watch here, Pagnan just trying to make a move again for the lead of this race. I wonder if that back marker had anything to do with sort of this, but Pagnan again taking over the lead of the race, and it looks like we might be one more lap to go within this race. So Pagnan just needs to try and hold Ferrari off for one lap. I'm not sure who that driver, or who that, oh, that's Jay Walsh there, who may have caught up with the battle and slowed Ferrari down slightly, coming down Wellington Straight to let Pagnan through. But obviously we've seen the power of that slipstream, and these two drivers changing positions going down that Wellington Straight, so it may have been a foregone conclusion anyway. But these two certainly glued together, and it's a great climax to this race, with Pagnan currently in 1st, Ferrari in 2nd, do everything he can to try and get past it. I think Ferrari might think this is the last lap. I'm not sure, I didn't see the white flag out, and I can't see it on our timing, so we may be witnessing the lap. Must be, mustn't it? They are.
Yeah, we've got an hour on the timer. This is going to be the last main straight. Ferrari pulls out. He's going to win up the inside.
Got a good run coming up the inside into Stowe. He's in the ideal place, and I think Pagnan's not going to be able to going out really wide to try and get the cut back on Ferrari here. Not managing to get it done. Ferrari closing the doors, coming down into the last couple of corners through Vale, and it's just down to the last corner. But Ferrari going really defensive on the inside of that, not giving Pagnan an inch, and this is the final lap between these two. Roberto Ferrari looks like he might have done had a little bit of a staking moment. Pagnan's coming around the outside here and there, but I don't think it's enough room, and I think Ferrari takes first place in this championship, in this round, and Pagnan is second. But wow, what a close race that was.
Yeah, tried to go all the way around the outside off track. We've still got battling though. Here comes the finish for fourth, Maximin and the Leper. So Zicki and Barlogio fight to the end. Those two got separated off the back of Nalepa and Maximin for some reason at the end there. Next battle coming down, it's Bingham and Goosens.
Well, Bingham keeping the defensive.
Bingham on the inside.
Bingham going extremely defensive there to James Goosens. James Goosens just giving a little tap there, and I think obviously Tom will have this done. Not enough of a start-finish straight to get any sort of slipstream. So Tom Bingham taking the second place in the amateurs, and Goosens taking that last podium position with Fowler in 14th. Hayden, obviously a bit of a mixed fortune for the pro driver there in 15th. Had a bit of an issue at the front. Had to start. Musumeci behind him had an absolute terrible 40-minute pit lane penalty that put paid to his championship. Was fighting at the front of the grid, but obviously down there in P16. As we watched the last couple of drivers, Ian May there fighting out with Paul Joseph Clist. Ian May going defensive into the last couple of corners. I think we'll have this 21st position sewn up. Paul just behind him there in 22nd position as we watch them two come across the line. So only three more drivers, Fredericks, Jacob and Serrano, left to come across the start-finish line.
One thing we didn't mention whilst we were talking over the end of the race there, Dan Skinner did end up in the pit lane a couple of laps from the end. I think it was a fuel issue that was putting him down. I think he's also finished in the pit lane because he was back in 14th place battling with Hayden and Musumeci, and suddenly he's jumped up to 11th with the pit marker next to his name. So whether he took a cheeky little shortcut to try and regain some places there, one for the stewards to look at, I think there.
I don't know, but I think he certainly didn't gain any positions because was fighting with Kedza. Germantus was Skinner, so it looks like Germantus managed to leapfrog Dan Skinner for that P10th position. We did see him have a little altercation coming down Maggots with Kedza that pushed him offline and put paid to his battle for that P10th. But we can take you through our race results here for round 4 at Silverstone. So Roberto Ferrari winning an excellent race there over Pagnan in second, just literally 4/400ths of a second behind Roberto Ferrari after an hour racing. So great racing of those two. Principato there in third rounds out your podium over the top. The top amateur driver, Nathan Maximim, great opening round for him, getting the 4th position. Christian Napella in 5th. Jacob Zicki in 6th. Matteo Bellagio in 7th. Wasn't able to make that passing move on Zicki, so the Hyperon Motorsport team there doing an exceptional job to lock out Matteo Bellagio in 7th. Ivan Pinocchio from the back of the grid manages to secure an 8th place, so an excellent drive from him. Kedza there in 9th. Germantus, a great recovery drive from him after we saw a few incidents from the driver there in 10th place. Tom Bingham takes 2nd place in the amateurs in 11th place. Jens Goosens in 12th, followed closely by Russ Fowler. Paul Hayden in 14th from a pit lane start from Paul. A bit of a mixed fortune there, and obviously the trials and tribulations of Musa Mecci with his 40-second stop goal penalty put paid to his race racing at the front. Ronald Moons in 16th, Alan McCain in 17th, Raphael Leslie in 18th, Damien McMullen 19th, Dan Skinner down there in P20, Ian May 21st, Paul Joseph Clist in 22nd, Ease Frederick 23rd, Niels de Coupe in 24th, Simeon Serrano in 25th, Jay Walsh in 26th, and Austin Knight rounding out your field, who did not start for your 27 drivers. So what an excellent round, and looks like we do have a few drivers, Adam, to choose, and I'll let you pick the first one.
Shall I take Tom Bingham there, third in the waiting room?
on, and they kept saying to me, "Stop looking at the chat. Focus on the race." Like,
Oh, Tom, you're in the comm booth now.
hello, mate. Sorry. Carrying on.
Concentrate on the race, Tom.
Story of my life.
Welcome in,
How's it
Tom.
going?
Sorry for interrupting your conversation there. Maybe you can give us the highlights.
Yeah, well, I know what the back of Jens' car looks like now. Unbelievable race, absolutely amazing. He tried to give me the undercut on the pit, and I luckily just came out in front of him. And then after the pit stop, it was just, well, I don't know if you guys saw it much on stream, but it was pretty much just a war until the end of the race. It was absolutely wild.
Yeah, we definitely picked up on you a few times going side by side there. Obviously, you've had a difficult night of battling. How's that? Were you clean all the way?
Yeah, I didn't actually have any incidents. I mean, I had some incident points from cutting the track slightly, but yeah, I had a bit of a bump with Jens where the back of his car sort of got a smidge airborne. But you know, it was touring car type stuff. You know, rubbing is racing. It was awesome, good fun.
And obviously during that race you've had your Mantis and Pinocchio sort of coming back through the pack at you. How was trying to fight those two off?
Well, to be honest, I didn't fight your Mantis at all because I know from other races, and obviously he's Pro-Am, I know that he's faster than me. So when Jens went in the pits, I saw your Mantis behind me and I thought, if I let him by, he can tow me round, and at least that will give me some sort of gap as far as the pit stop goes. So that was my strategy with that. And it luckily paid off. But you know, Jens is so damn fast, really fast driver. So it was awesome battle. I think we're sort of on par for ability. So really good fun.
I think I know the answer to this one, but obviously this is the second time running our 1 hour endurance format. How have you enjoyed it compared with the other two formats?
Yeah, this format's kind of my specialty. From doing the other GT3 series and that sort of thing. Where it's been the 1 hour events. I prefer it, to be honest, because you can get in a groove and people take it a bit more cautious and a bit more steady. You know, it's not like the 15-minute races where you've got people just trying to send it the whole time and make moves that aren't realistic. You know, Jens and I were battling really clean, but hard at the same time for all of that race, and it was it was a lot more fun than just trying to make stupid moves. It was good.
Yeah, and obviously next week we're heading to Knock Hill, a very different kettle of fish to the Grand Prix layout here. How are you looking forward to that one?
Oh god, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess, Knock Hill. Fun track, really fun track, but in the little Mazdas, there's not much room there, so I imagine we'll see some big incidents. It'll be a race of attrition and survival, I think, is the main thing.
Thanks very much for joining us, Tom. We'll move on to one of our next drivers in the waiting room, but thanks for all your racing tonight and join us in the comm box.
Cheers, lads. Have a good night. Thanks a lot.
See you later, Tom.
See you, mate. Bye.
That was Tom Bingham there, second place in the amateur race during this round. So we'll pick up with Russ Fowler. I want to have a quick chat with him. Hi, Russ. Welcome to the commentary box. How was that race for you? Seemed to be a really interesting battle at the end there between yourself, Jen Goosens, and Tom Bingham.
Yeah, I was. I sort of cocked up the qualifying, and then the start of the race wasn't great for me. So I was about 9 seconds behind those guys, and then after the pit stop, I saw Jens pull out, and I thought that looks doable. It was 6 seconds or something, and then I don't know if Tom pitted before or after, but they started battling, and I thought, okay, I just got to keep on it, keep putting the laps in, and managed to catch them, but didn't really get the chance to have a little go. But they looked like they were having a great time, so I just wanted to catch up, just to get involved, really.
We had the perfect ringside seat watching those two battle in front of you. Things I do want to look at is sort of, I watched you in practice, and you always seem to be the top amateur driver within the practice session. Do you find that harder to then put down into the qualifying session? Because you seem to be sort of losing a little bit of pace, or do you get caught by the dreaded off tracks?
No, in this I just couldn't put a lap together for this qualifying. I don't know why. I think last week was all right. I think I managed to qualify pretty well, but and weirdly it being a longer qualifying session as well, I thought I've got plenty of time, no panic. But then it just sort of catches you up, doesn't it? So yeah, just couldn't put a lap together today, I think. And the more, especially with the half an hour qualifying for me, the closer I was getting to the end, I was like, oh no, I've got to put a lap in. And then of course you start over driving and it all goes to pieces. So yeah, anyway, it's one of those things. I was just pleased to be so close at the end. I mean, I thought I'd finished quite a way behind those guys, but thanks to a bit of battling, and I let Paul Hayden past, and I thought, right, I'll just get a couple of laps worth of draft from Paul, and that bought me in another second or so. So I don't know what happened. I think he lost it and spun out, unfortunately.
Yeah, coming down the inside, he did there. But one of the big things for tonight was the different strategies that people were taking within the pits. I don't know if you can tell us about yours, but a lot of drivers were either taking 2 tyres, no tyres, or all 4 tyres. Where did you lie in that trio of 3 options?
I was always going to take tyres. When I did some long practice stints, I found my front left was wearing quite heavily. So I'd always intended to take tyres. Plus also, I don't know if I was using perhaps more fuel, but I found the fuel was taking longer to put in than the tyre change. So it was a kind of, you know, a no-brainer really to take tyres because it wasn't going to delay me in the pits. So I'm glad I did. I would have been sliding all over the place at the end, I think, if I hadn't.
So you changed all 4 then, did you?
Yes. Now that's a good little tip. That I hadn't even thought of just changing the lefty. I'll remember that for the next one.
There you go. When you know you've got your left hand there, don't say those commentaries don't give you tips here.
Yeah, no, this is all good.
Obviously, we got Knock Hill there next round. 2 25-minute races around Knock Hill. It's going to be a hard track to make passes, so qualifying is going to be all the more important around that track, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. But I think I don't know, it's one of those tracks where it's easy to make a mistake. So, we'll have to see how it goes. I've never actually raced there. I've done a bit of practice there, but I haven't raced there at all. So it's going to be a new experience for me. But I do like it. I like those short courses because you can get into a rhythm a little bit. I tend to lose my concentration if I'm on a long straight. My mind starts wandering. So I quite like the intensity of turn. So yeah,
because it's good to see the different view of the drivers. Yeah, we obviously had Tom in before that said he really enjoys the hour-long races because you can get into a groove, and then there's yourself saying, "Well, I need enough fall asleep down the long straights," and it just goes off. Prefer the tight, twisty, and a shorter running track. So pretty good that this championship now has a bit of mix for every driver's taste. And how are you liking the different formats?
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan of variety. I think it's a different test, isn't it? These longer races, you got to pace yourself. It's concentration. It's not going too mad. Diving up the inside in the early laps. So versus the 15-minute ones where it is a bit elbows out, and you just got to scrap. Otherwise you just get eaten alive, right? So I love it. I love them, the fact that we've mixed it up and there's a different formats. I think it's really, really good.
Well, thanks for joining us anyway in the box, Russ. Before we let you go, would you like to give a shout out to anyone?
I'll give a shout out to my wife, as I always do, who puts up with me practicing a lot, but also my 2 boys. I've got twins. They're 6 years old. They're about to do their first karting experience, so we'll see if I can breed a future world champion or something. But so big shout out to those boys. They're asleep now, but they might watch this back tomorrow. So yeah.
What's
otherwise,
their names, Russ?
Sorry.
What's their names?
Zach and Lucas.
Oh, there you go.
So hi, Zach and Lucas. Yeah, exactly. They'll be welcome for that.
Well, thanks for joining us, Russ, in the box, and look forward to Knock Hill.
Indeed. All right. Thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. So there was Russ Fowler finishing 4th in the amateur. So a great round here tonight, Adam. We've got the trials and tribulations of Knock Hill, a new iRacing track. First time these cars have been around the track. Should be entertaining.
Yeah, it'll be a very different challenge. It's probably a track more suited to these little Mazdas, But I expect thrills and spills over the hills of Knock Hill next week.
Yeah, definitely. But that brings us to the end of this broadcast here for round 4 here at Silverstone. So if you have enjoyed the YouTube stream, then please give us a thumbs up and think about subscribing and clicking that bell. Have many series here on Apex Racing TV, pretty much for every single car that you want to drive. And also, if you want to see yourself on the grid and maybe getting mentioned in the comms team, head over to apexracingleague.com and sign up for all the leagues that currently running within the series. Also, have a look at us on our social media page. Find us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, all with the username of Apex Racing TV. So from myself, Andy Thompson, from Adam Hatfield, and from the wonderful Samuli in the production box here from the wonderful Silverstone, we bid you fair night and look forward to seeing you same time next week at Knock Hill. Good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.